Hello, this is a presentation about making good presentations. Okay, here we go. All right, so here are your tips for making good presentations. Okay, don't pause the video, go ahead and read that right now. Okay, so you're probably guessing that this is not a very good way to make a presentation, right? You can see there's a lot of text there. Even if I gave you a lot of time to do that, you might be good students and go ahead and read that. But the fact is, most people don't want to read slides, okay? And that's probably the biggest mistake that people do when they create their slides is they put a lot of text on there. They end up reading from their slides, or they expect their audience to read, and the audience just doesn't want to read, okay? So if you're going to put something short, at least people have time to read it. Otherwise, don't put anything at all. Otherwise, I could just give handouts and say, go home and read this, right? Why bother with a presentation? Okay, so this is not good. Okay, so you might want to take your content and divide it up, right? Why put things on one slide, right? Maybe you want 2 slides, or 3, or 4, right? Take all that content that you see in that first slide and try to divide it up. Here's another example. Okay, so here I'm trying to talk about fun with computers, and I got a bunch of pictures, which are good, right? Text is kind of boring, so I decided to put some pictures in there, spice it up a little bit, and you can see that I have various information in this slide. Okay, but even this slide with its interesting images and whatnot is cluttered. Okay, we have a lot of things going on, and people might not have time to kind of mentally digest all of that. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, simpler, right? Just a quick message, right? People have time to kind of process that in your mind, and you can just go to your next slide. Okay, clean design, focusing on one point. Okay, basic information. That way people aren't confused about too many things going on at once. And then you can keep going with the next point. So often it's dividing your material into more slides. Okay, don't feel like you need to cram everything into one slide. Okay, here's another example of presentation tips. Okay, and I have an animation for you. Okay, how was that? You like that? Was it awesome? And you might be, yes, professor, that was totally awesome, right? You made it, so it must be awesome, right? But no, it's terrible. It's crappy design, right? First of all, what are these bubbles, these water drops, or whatever they are? What do they have anything to do with my presentation, right? Absolutely nothing. And you get this regular title bullet points, right? And I really hate this, and I think everybody else kind of secretly hates it too. Even though they don't know they hate it, they really hate it, right? This is what we call the infinite bullet point syndrome, right? And everybody does it. Probably 90% of our presentations that we see are like this. Title, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. More bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, bullet point, bullet point. And you have what we call infinite bullet point syndrome. And our brains just get tired of that, and after a while, they just turn off. You've probably noticed it in some of your lectures, right? Some of your professors, unfortunately, aren't the greatest presenters and do implement the infinite bullet point syndrome, and you've probably fallen asleep in those classes. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay. This is much better, right? Nice and interesting, clean, cool font. Presentation tips. Show what you want to say. Okay. No one likes reading slides. To emphasize something, choose an expressive font. Or to emphasize something, choose an expressive font. Okay. Now I think that was much better than what we saw there. Basically, I presented the exact same information, right? You probably didn't even read this one. Did you read that the first time that I showed it? Those 3 points? Show what you're saying. No one likes reading slides. To emphasize something, choose an expressive font. Right? Probably not. Right? It just doesn't kind of attract you to look into it. Doesn't attract you to read. Doesn't attract you to, pay attention to it. Whereas these ones, focus, let you digest, have visual cues. Right? You can see this person, arrow. Right? I'm actually showing you what I want to say. Here I want the point is, right? Boring, right? People don't want to read slides, they fall asleep. So what I do, I give you a visual image of that. And images do say a million words, right? People sleeping, bored. So people kind of get that message. Okay, so again, this one here, right? I want you to focus on the word choose, right? You have a choice to choose fonts, right? So I emphasize that. Here I emphasize in a different way, right? The exact same message, but I'm emphasizing something slightly different, right? I'm saying choose an expressive font, and you can see how expressive that is, okay? So it's very important to make these choices. Like I said before, it's a matter of time. The more time you spend doing your slides, the better they'll become. Okay, everybody can throw together a bunch of PowerPoint slides in probably 10 minutes, right? Get your content, slides, stick them on there. And people think, okay, the most important thing is that I get my content on there, but it shouldn't finish there, okay? If you have the content, what's the point of having all that important content if nobody's going to listen to it? If people fall asleep during your content, right? You might as well not have done any work in the first place. So you've invested all that time in getting that content. Invest a little bit more time making a good presentation. That way people will actually be able to learn and hear what you have to say. Okay, I do have a couple links here that I will share with you on Moodle. Okay, usually I would go through this in class, but I'll leave it up to you. Do look at these 2 links that I'll put on Moodle. They have some very, very good tips, which I do expect that you implement some of these concepts when you do your PowerPoint project.